When I was growing up and learning about financial literacy, I was actually trained that debt was a bad thing. Debt means bad because you don't want to have any debt, and you hear everybody running around talking about being debt free. The reality is, the really wealthy people are not debt free.
Welcome to the Contrarian Capitalist Podcast, the ultimate destination for accredited investors and entrepreneurs seeking alternative wealth building strategies. Discover how to fast-track your journey to wealth and time freedom by thinking outside the box. If you're ready to join the ranks of the Contrarian Capitalists and learn the most effective ways to reach your financial goals faster, you're in the right place. Let's get started with today's episode of the Contrarian Capitalist Podcast.
Thank you once again for listening to another episode of the Contrarian Capitalist Podcast. I'm your host and your favorite silverback, Sylvania Harrod. And on today's episode, I'm going to take you through just a little bit about the art of using other people's money. This episode was inspired by the First Lady, aka my wife, Heather, because she was asking me, like as I'm doing different tiers of capital raising and helping people go through that, why do people actually need other people's money? If they have a boatload of money, why can't they actually use it? And you know what's funny is that sometimes once you get experienced in doing a particular subject, you actually forget about these things. And so you forget about some of the fundamental questions you had when you got started, which is why I love helping and teaching, because it helps me stay grounded and reiterate some of the earlier information that I know, that questions I had that are now at a place where it's just known. Like, oh, this is just normal because it's normalized for me. So she was asking me that question. So I'm going to break down like what happens on most large scale real estate projects. I like to use the number 100 because it's just simple math and I can do it off the dome real quick. But let's say you're going ahead and there's a person that's looking to buy $100 million building. So the $100 million building, I'll give you the kind of the structure, and it shifts and moves depending on the size of the deal, but I just use raw numbers. So when you go into real estate, especially any phase, there's two different sides of what's needed to secure that, to buy that $100 million building. One is called debt. So debt is something that's, whether it's short-term debt, which is referred to as bridge loans, or it's longer-term debt, which is just long-term financing on an asset. If you hear me say the word asset, all that means is a piece of property, a business, etc. It's just a tool that financing is used for. So just think of that as an asset. So when I look at the asset being $100 million, let's say they're at a phase where they're just buying it straight up, not even renovating, doing construction or anything there. So that asset that they want to buy for $100 million is going to have, on the debt side, is normally going to be what's called 70-30. So the split, I tell you, the larger number is always the debt. The smaller number is usually always what's called the equity portion, or you'll hear me say raw cash. So if you have equity, that's the amount you need to bring to the table in order to secure the next $70 million. When I was growing up and learning about financial literacy, I was actually trained that debt was a bad thing. Debt means bad because you don't want to have any debt, and you hear everybody running around talking about being debt free. The reality is, the really wealthy people are not debt free. While they could be if they want to. If I know I can make money make me 20%, and debt's only going to cost me maybe 6 or 7%, it means you don't have advanced financial literacy of understanding how to use money to make money. Because if you just look at the math equation, if I took my money in that scenario and took all of my money, I am going to, that money cannot be used. It cannot be deployed. I can't do anything with it. So in reality, if I had a vehicle that allowed me to make 20% a year, and I take it out of that vehicle to put it into something that costs me 6% a year, I'm actually losing 26% month over month over month. So while I can make it up per se, depending on the type of asset I buy, if it's distressed and I can really raise the value and get it back, I don't want to do that. So what I do is I take a small sliver of what's required to help me secure the deal. So in this example, at $30 million of equity needed, the person will need to bring $3 million of their own money to the table, which means for the next 27, they bring in other people along with them on the deal. Because the reality is they know that they're going to buy it for 100. They're going to put maybe 50 million in renovations in it. And then I'm going to sell it for 400 after it's already stabilized. So that means that like I'm going to have the opportunity to potentially walk away with $100 million. Everything all said and done in probably 5 years. So what they do is they go out and they raise the next 27 million. So they take that 27 million and they just bring it from other people, because people understand like my money has I have the opportunity for 27 million, and knowing that there's going to be a 50 million or $54 million jackpot at the end of it that I get to walk away with. Well, I can double my money in the 5-year period of time. Like I'm going to have a double return, which is, if you look at it, 20% a year. So they know, well, I'm putting onto something. I have the potential to make 20% a year if my money's sitting in there. You realize you got to bring other people to the dance, right? Other people have to be involved in the process in order to ensure you can hit the highest point of leverage. So if they raise that money and they go through and they get things secured of what they need for that asset, well, the beautiful thing is that when it comes time to sell that asset, maybe they want to hold that asset, they're making a return on their money. Because if they had, let's say they only had $50 million. Well, they got 3 million tied up here. There's like 30 other things I can park my money into. That's going to ensure I get my necessary return. And my $3 million, if I do everything right and I manage the project and I manage the different scope and I have the right people in place, is going to turn into $40 million in the span of 5 years. So while you may be paying a 6% rate, you're actually in a really good spot, because your money's making money for you. It's just more non-linear than linear of like looking at it accruing and going up and down like the markets go. That is what happens every single day, every place you go to. If you're going into an office building, somebody use that same structure. If you go to a hospital, somebody use that same structure. If you go and stay at a hotel, same. If you go and stay at an apartment building, same. Very, very rare. Well, the media will tell you, oh my God, Floyd Mayweather spends $400 million to buy these things. Unless he's a moron, he has other people's money tied up in the deal. He's not just buying it with straight cash and sitting there without any debt. There's a difference when I got a little bit further advanced around finance of learning the difference between good debt and bad debt. Bad debt is being in the military and going out and getting the car with rims at a 19% APR because you just want to flex on everybody because you're 20 years old. Bad debt is knowing you can't pay off your damn credit card bill. So what you do is you go ahead and you're like, screw it. You treat your credit card as a checking account. That's bad debt. Good debt is when you acquire assets that are going to appreciate. So I'm willing to pay 6% to make 25% a year. I'm willing to do that as long as I'm hedging my bets properly, because that's what everybody does. When you hear a celebrity goes ahead and pays for a building with cash, they ain't doing that. They're doing that to secure the deal and get under contract. But they're going to take that money and they're going to bring a loan onto that asset so that they have the ability to cash out tax free. That's an expense. But if you think about it, loans are not considered income. So even if you pull out a loan and you make more money on it, that's not considered income. They just understand the tax law and the tax codes more effectively. So you got an opportunity. You can either be a winner at a loser's game, or you can learn how to play the winner's game. And that's where things become magical. That's where things become possible. And that's when you begin to really unlock your freedom. So my job as your favorite silverback is to share with you real world data and insights, not from hypotheticals, not from potentials, not because I watched a damn YouTube video, but from sitting across from another human being who executes this. And once I see this repeatable pattern, I take that pattern and I share it back with you. So as always, I love feedback. I love information. There's more topics you want me to talk about, because the last couple of episodes have been tied towards things that people had asked me. That's why I'm here to serve. That's why I'm here to dig into details on items, because it's all up here. Like it just became normal to me because it's moved from my conscious mind to my subconscious mind. And now it's just an unconscious process. And I just think that everybody knows that. So the more feedback you give, the better I can serve you, the better I can create content, because in reality, this content is for you. It ain't for me. I'm just here to serve, because my job as a silverback is to protect my troop, is to make sure my fellow contrarians are there living the life of their choosing. So if you want to communicate or reach out, you can hit me up on Facebook. It's at my first name, at my last name. On Instagram, first name, last name. On the YouTube, first name, last name. I'm here to serve. I'm here to help. Also, let's not forget LinkedIn. You can send me there too. I just got one ping a couple seconds ago. I'm going to dig into that. But as always, stay the course, set your mission, and make sure you have a vivid vision that you can live every single day within. And in order for you to do that, you got to stay hungry, stay humble, and stay grateful. Cheers, everybody.